6 o'clock, but I just want to begin by setting the scene for tonight's forum. I'm Brian Sullivan. I work at the local ABC and Fox affiliate in Bangor, as well as being a graduate of Bucksport High School, class of 2002. Can't believe it was that long ago, but in fact it was. The candidate forum tonight provides an opportunity for the residents of the town of Bucksport to get to know those that are running for office, these fine people right here. The forum is not a debate and is not open to questions from the audience. Instead, the same questions are provided to all of these folks. They in advance. We have one additional question that we will have at the end for them. We ask the candidates present their views in a positive manner and with a focus on their own strengths and ideas. I think that we're all here because the candidates believe they have something to offer to the town of Bucksport, they care about the town, and have a vision for its future. Believing they have something to offer by joining the council or gaining re-election. With that, I will wish you all the best of luck, and we'll get underway. We'll begin with each candidate coming to the podium and having 2 minutes to introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about why they decided to enter the fray here, and also after that, we will have questions, as I mentioned, that they've all been provided in advance, except for the one wildcard question at the end. At that point, I will give them a mic. They will answer from their seats, and they'll pass it along down. With Snake, the first question will be answered here by Val, and then we'll go to Robbie Carmichael at the end. He will answer the second question first, so on and so forth. All right, so without further ado, I'll turn it over to our first candidate.
Good evening. My name is Val Schaffner. My grandfather, father, and husband all worked in the mill, and so I am very aware of the devastation caused by its loss. I grew up in Bucksport in a family which was very active in local and state government. My father, Mayoral, served for 3 terms in the state legislature and was on the town council during the 70s and 80s. My roots go deep in the fabric of the town, and I care a great deal about its future. I retired in 2015 after 35 years at a large firm in Bangor. First as a legal assistant and then as an assistant to the firm administrator and HR manager. My experience as a legal assistant taught me to be detail-oriented and furnished me with an in-depth insight into the workings of our legal system. My problem-solving and people skills were enhanced as a result of my experience in administration and human resources. Probably my greatest achievement has been shared with my husband in raising our 2 wonderful children who have gone on to have very successful personal lives and careers and are raising children of their own.
My name is David Key, and first off, I'd like to thank the Enterprise, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Alamo for giving us the opportunity to appear here tonight. I think this is great. It's nice to see so many people in attendance. Secondly, congratulations to my fellow candidates. Especially the 7 people running for the first time. I know how difficult it is to put yourself out there, and it takes a lot of courage. As I say, I know for sure what the courage it takes to run. I know that there's an accelerated learning curve for those of us who are elected. I'm running for a 3rd 3-year term to continue using my experience as a Bucksport Town lawyer, my service on the Finance Committee and Ordinance Committee, as well as my chairing of the Economic Development Committee. A word about the election. We have approximately 3,700 eligible voters in Bucksport. This is not the time to let 400 or 500 of those voters make the decisions that have to be made who's going to serve or continue to serve on the council. I want to remind everyone on November 3rd, come to the polls, grab a hold of somebody, bring the polls with you. It is an important election. There's too much riding on it to not be involved. Thank you again for coming tonight, and I look forward to the debate as it goes. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Julie Hersom, and I am a fairly new resident to Bucksport. I moved here about 16 months ago. I chose Bucksport as when I was getting ready to make the move back to the Bangor area. I was looking around to find, what benefits and the community has to offer me. And this is a small, family-oriented community. I grew up in northern Maine, so that is one of the big things that drew me to the Bucksport area. I want to, or I am running for the town council because I feel that I have an opportunity to help get a vision from the people of this town and start incorporating it into the changes that we're going to see coming down the road for Bucksport. Bucksport is gone through a lot of change in the past year, and I think the changes that we've got coming are going to be difficult ones also. And we need to be able to have people on the council that can think outside the box and look at things holistically. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. First, thank you, Bucksport Bay Area Chamber of Commerce, the Bucksport Enterprise, the Alamo, and all of you in the audience here and at home for this evening's candidate forum. My name is Paul Rabs. I'm running for the 3-year town council seat. My wife Leslie and I, we are here year-round residents for the town of Bucksport. How we came to live here is an interesting part of our life. I can still recall the first day I came to Bucksport, calling on the mill, then owned by Champion. I stayed that evening at the new Jed Crowdy. Even back then the floor squeaked. That first night in town, I walked across the street to have dinner at a new restaurant in town, just opened that week, McLeod's. So literally, decades later, we've come back to Bucksport. I had always talked about the town. In 2012, my wife and I came back as tourists, took a left at the lights, said we're never going back. We went with Deb and Bronwyn at Ocean's Edge Realty. We told them what we wanted in our dream home. An hour later, there was a beautiful home on 9 acres sold. Now, 3.5 years later, in preparation for this day, I've attended every council meeting since late winter to better understand the council's workings, the importance of town committees, fiscal budgeting, and the planning process. My background, I'm retired from the private sector after 41 years. My last 20 years were in sales management, including territory, regional, corporate responsibilities, in various industry segments, including electric utilities, fine chemical, pulp and paper, and biotech and life sciences. I've led teams orchestrating major business pursuits, implementing consultative sales, plans and programs, selling capital equipment and services, and coordinated projects selling the bar. Community service, I'm currently chair of the Ad Hoc Citizens Group, reporting to the Economic Development Committee. I've served on the town committee in the town of Mendon, Massachusetts, with a population of about 5,000 people, same as Bucksport, developing their multi-year capital improvement plan. I'm a former Washington, D.C. based cadre team member from FEMA, and I'm currently on an on-call volunteer firefighter in the town of Bull. Thank you.
Good evening, folks. I'm Jim Morrison. I'm from up Hueytown. It's all part of Bucksport. We prefer to call it Hueytown up there. I'm just a country kid. Grew up here. My grandfather bought a farm up in East Bucksport in the 40s. And I own it now, 3rd generation. I'm pig farming, I'm chicken farming, selling eggs. Not much in the way of a politician, or even less as a Florida. I'm not real comfortable standing here. I hope I don't have to do it too often, but there it is. I came here early because I wanted to have a seat in the front row. I'm not so sure that was the best idea. I think that the town of Bucksport is lacking voice for people on the council. I think it's time somebody joined them and tried to speak as to what people here want. I don't know if the rest of anybody feels that way, but that's why I'm going on to the council, or attempting to go on the council, I should say. The largest employer in the town of Bucksport is the town of Bucksport, from what I consider. And I think that's a little out of proportion. I'd like to see it change. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for all coming here. My name is Mike Ormsby, and I've been in and around the town of Bucksport for a few years now. Some of you may know me. I've been on the town council before. I spent 9 years on the council. I did not run last time around, so I've been off the council for a little bit, and I'd really like to get back on. Enjoyed doing it. I liked what I did. I was the chairman of the finance committee. I was on the ordinance committee. I'm also on the board of directors for the health center in Bucksport, and I was just nominated for vice president of that board. I chose to come to Bucksport. I've been coming here since I couldn't even walk that high. My uncle owned a camp down and back, and I love the town of Bucksport. And I told my wife when we get married, that's where we're going. So she agreed, and we moved here and raised our children here. We got here in 1984. I've been either harbor master or the deputy while I was on the council for almost 30 years now. And I know a lot about the town. I know a lot about how it's run and how it's been run in the past. And I'm very interested in continuing to do those duties. I own my own business. I own 2 properties in Bucksport. I have a house and I have a business out of Route 46. So I pay a little bit more taxes than the average person, just owning a house. And I think taxes are an important subject that we need to deal with and still provide the services that people want in the town. So hopefully, come the election time, I can get back on the council and do this again. Thank you.
My name is Paul Robin. Like Mr. Morrison, I really don't like this, being in front of people like this. I've lived in Bucksport all my life. My wife and I both graduated from Bucksport. We moved away for 4 years while I was in the Marine Corps. And then we decided we were going to come back here and raise our family. We have 2 wonderful kids and a grandchild. This is where I wanted to raise my family. This community. It's a tight-knit community that cares about people, cares about everyone. I chose a year and a half ago to run for an open seat on the council. I did so. Basically, my wife told me one night as I was watching a council meeting to be quiet. What are you talking about? And I was complaining. I was complaining about things that I disagreed with that the council at the time was doing. She basically told me if I didn't want to help the problem or have something to do with helping the problem, then I was the problem. So I ran for the council, and I enjoy it. It's not two meetings a month. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it because we have a great community. We just lost the mill. 40% of our tax base. It's huge for 80 plus years. We've relied on that mill. We in this room got the benefits of the mill. I want our kids, our grandkids, to also get those same services, those same school departments that we got. It's going to be harder because now we don't have that mill. But that's why I'm running for council again, because this is an unfinished business. We need to move on, we need to grow, and I want to be part of that. I want to be part of the solution, not the problem. Thank you.
Good evening. I want to thank the Chamber and all of you for coming out tonight and listening to a little bit about what we have to say and our thoughts about running for the town council. I'm Rob Carmichael. I've been, I think I added right, I've been in Bucksport for about 43 of my 58 years. I just turned 58. I'm not ashamed to say that. About 43 years, I think. I've been I retired from the military, 27 years in the military, active and full-time in the National Guard. I graduated from BHS. Three of my 4 children have graduated from Bucksport High School. I graduated from the University of Maine. I have an MBA from Thomas College and a Master's in Strategic Studies from the U.S. Army War College. And I mention that because I think it's important that in that education, we learn to think critically and look at issues in a deeper, different way than you might look at them on the surface. And I think we're at that place in our history in Bucksport right now where the issues we're going to be facing require a deeper level of thinking, critical thinking, than maybe we've done in the past. And so I think how we go about that is not going to be the way we've done that in previous years. I'm proud of the fact that I dug marine worms for 7 years, going through high school and college. And I mention that because it gave me a perspective of how people make a living on the coast, one of the ways people make a living on the coast, and how hard that work is, and how important it is to protect the dollars that people that work in that field and a variety of the fields that and occupations around our community work in. And so it means a lot to me to think about those folks and all the others that work with their hands and as I said, the need to protect every dollar. For the past 11 years, I've worked at Maine Savings Federal Credit Union as a Senior Vice President of Human Resources, Training, IT, and Facilities. So I've got a wide perspective on a variety of things. My background has given me a variety of experiences to bring to the table. And I also have experience as a member of the school board back in the 90s. So I understand that part of governing to a small degree. I have a lot to learn, but I'm hoping that if I get elected, that I can add immeasurably to the town council and the town of Bucksport. Thank you.
All right, now the introductions are out of the way. We do want to let anybody who came in a little bit later an opportunity to come sit down. If you want to stay in the back, you're more than welcome, but feel free to take a seat. Maybe some people could slide in so everybody could grab a chair here as we get underway. From now we move on to, before we get to the questions, I would like to thank Austin Mason, Cody Larson, and Christina Coutier, they're students at Bucksport High School. They're helping out. In case you were wondering, you'll hear the bell ring once. That means the candidates have gone for 1 minute and 30 seconds of their allotted 2 minutes. So that's kind of a wrap up for them if you were wondering why the bells were going off there. So we will now get to the questions. And our first question, and we'll start right here with Val. First question is, what is your platform and reason for seeking office, and what do you think you can bring to the council?
When the mill closed, I felt compelled to become a part of the groundswell of efforts to ensure the future prosperity of Bucksport. I believe the town has saved what it could and spent wisely over the last several years in making sure the services, infrastructure, and schools have been kept to a high standard. Bucksport has much to offer, and I believe we need to concentrate on marketing our assets to entice businesses and families to move here. We have enjoyed many years of prosperity due to the presence of a large, well-paying employer. And while we mourn its loss, we need to focus on the future and the endless possibilities open to us. The skill sets I would bring to the council include experience in the running of an efficient and organized business, drafting a disaster recovery plan, and the resourcefulness to reach out to experts to solve the problems facing our town. In other words, I wouldn't be afraid to stop and ask directions.
I'm not sure I said my name is David Key, and look, sort of a little nervous like everybody else, but I've practiced law here in Bucksport for a long, long time. Since the mill closed 9 months ago, we really have two primary issues. One is economic. I'm not telling you anything you don't know when I say that. The other is redevelopment or rebirth of our town. This past summer, thanks to Guns N' Hoses, the art festival, Wednesdays on Main, better not forget to mention that one, music at the Marina, the Alamo, and the Bucksport Performing Arts Center. Over 6,500 people came to Bucksport from the streets and enjoyed the waterfront. The council could have started cutting and slashing money from Bucksport. we had that opportunity when we formed the budget. Laying off workers and eliminating services. Because of the rainy day funds being used as they were intended, we were able to pause and ask the ultimate and most important question, which is, what do the citizens want? And they let us know. The way that they let us know, through forums, surveys, presentations to the council, letters containing over 150 ideas. These idea letters, collected by me, have been delivered to members of the Economic Development Council, as well as members of the Town Council, and copies are at the town office for your review and additional input. Rather than having the future of Bucksport decided by only the 7 people on the council, we decided to listen to the citizens. Now, before the next budget process begins, is the time for the council to act on the best of these citizen-generated ideas. And if I'm re-elected, I intend to use my previous 6 years of experience on the council and my professional and personal experience to do just that.
My reasons and my platform for running for town council is I think I have the ability to think outside the box, and the town has gone through a lot of change, and with that change there's going to be there's an opportunity for growth here. And I want to work with people and work with the community to plan and prepare for that growth. And I feel that this is the time where we can take the time to look at all of the policies and procedures that we have in place right now and see what change, if any, needs to be made as we work towards the new Bucksport. And what do I bring to the table? I've spent the last 17 years in the insurance industry. I have strong customer service skills. I have written and implemented many claim policies. And I designed and developed training curriculum, and I have a very strong project management background.
So I'm, again, the question is, what is your platform and reason for seeking office and what can you bring to the council? I'm running for town council with a focus on town economics and revitalization. My platform centers on 4 things, actually: shared services, fiscal prudence, cutbacks, and revitalization. My thought is to run the town like a $12 million business, drive down costs, increase revenues, focus on economic strategy planning process while supporting the town council's efforts towards economic development, business growth, and housing revitalization. I'm promoting a few new ways of doing things, some examples that I'll speak to later this evening. Share services, as an example. Bucksport is a purchasing hub. Better yet, regionalizing multiple town services under a town of Bucksport umbrella. Use fiscal prudence, reduce spending, improve cash flow. Cash flow and cash reserves are more important than ever to the town. Cutbacks, not layoffs. I'm talking about modified hours of operation, reducing maintenance, repair, and operations costs. Revitalization, by supporting Main Street, Maine community, a Bucksport Next, and 3-ring binder communication backbone, resulting in economic development, business growth, job creation, housing revitalization, and historic preservation.
I'm a farmer. I told you all that. And when you're on a farm, you're a manager from the time you get out of bed in the morning till you go to bed at night. Usually a long day. While you're taking care of a pig that's going to have piglets tomorrow, you've also got a pumpkin patch out there that you've got to keep the pumpkins hauled out of. This kind of managing everything and anything all at once and having a surprise around every corner is just part of living. We got a town that lost our mill. I planted pumpkin seeds when I was 4 years old, first time I planted something. I put it in the ground, and I come running out the next day expecting to start carving a jack-o'-lantern. Probably most of you know I had a long wait. It takes a while for something to grow. It's not going to happen in 10 minutes. It's not going to happen in a year. It's going to be a while before we're back in a position where we have what we had when the mill was here. Be that as it may. I think that if we just kind of take our time and let our small businesses grow, get some information on what is available out there, get some people to come here and enjoy what we've got, then we'll get something to come in. In the meantime, I think we've got to take our time and do it right.
I guess my, if you want to call my platform for running for council again, is I think the mill closing is a huge opportunity for us. It's an opportunity for Bucksport to grow, to take advantage of its waterfront, take advantage of the beautiful scenery we have around, and take advantage of the spot that the mill was at. There's not hardly another place on the coast of Maine that has the assets of that mill property. And if it's marketed right, and we can work with AIM, and they work with us, I believe we can get not just one business, but a bunch of businesses to go in there. You have the high-pressure natural gas, you have the rail line, you have, sorry, you have the rail line, you have deep water frontage that's 60 feet right off the end of the mill. You have cooling water up to 14 or 12 to 14 million gallons that could go through there. You have a power plant that could actually sell its power to the businesses that move in there at really low rates, because it wouldn't be subject to the PUC, because it's on the same property. And the opportunities there are really outstanding. But also, the opportunities for a cultural Bucksport is same. And we have the scenery, we have the area, we're right on Route 1. So I think the two can be married together, and we can really go forward. And we ought to look at this as an opportunity, not a problem.
Sorry. Platform, really don't have a platform per se. My platform is everyone sitting in this room, everyone watching at home. That's why I'm running for council. It's not for me. I'm just like everyone that's sitting here in the room. With the closure of the mill, it hit me also. I pay the same taxes as everyone here, and I have for years. I want us to grow. I want people to, when they're coming across the bridge, they're taking a left instead of staying right. They're walking on our waterfronts. Our shops are full. People are, buying our products from Bucksport. The mill property, I agree with everyone that's talked up here. It's a great property. I want to be part of working with AIM and their developers and promoting that property and getting a business or something into that property that will be here for another 80 years, just like the mill was. I remember when the mill had 1,500 employees when I was a kid. I want us to thrive again. Our school system was 600 students. We're at 300 now. I want us to keep growing. I don't want us to keep shrinking. And that's why I'm running for office. I'm running for re-election. Because there's a lot of unfinished business, like I said before. I want to be part of that, part of the solution. And I can't be part of the solution if I don't run. What do I give you? I give you drive, enthusiasm, common sense, my word. I don't back down on my word. That's everything. If it's not, then your word is everything. That's what I am. Thank you.
Everybody realizes that this is an extremely important time for the community. There are a lot of challenges, we all recognize that, but I prefer to look at the opportunities that are out there for this town to renew itself, to remake itself. I look forward to the opportunity of working with other counselors, community members, and anyone else in our network who can bring ideas to the table and help us create a shared vision that will allow Bucksport to grow and to prosper for not just our generation, but generations to come. We have to have a long view. We have to take care of, obviously, those things that are in the short term, pressing problems, but at the same time, it's upon us to look at things with a long view and create something that will last for generations, but and is nimble enough to adjust and shift where needed down the road. I believe I'm a good listener. As I mentioned, I've learned to be a critical thinker and dig deep into issues. I'm willing to consider all ideas that come my way, and I think we can't have a shortage of ideas at this critical time in the future, in the history of Bucksport. We need all the ideas. We need to sift through the ideas and, as I said, create some sort of a shared vision that will guide the work that we do as council members and those of us that work for you in government. While we reflect on our history of what made Bucksport a great community, we can't live in the past. So we need to be aggressive in our approach to seeking new business, marketing the community inside and outside the state, being innovative and creative and working together in positive ways to move forward. We need to do everything possible in this community to create opportunities for business, not just in the area where the mill was, but up and down Main Street into the industrial park. Business friendly can't be just a slogan. We actually have to act that way and create the rules and make it easy for businesses to do business in Bucksport. Thank you.
All right, Robbie, you can keep that microphone. We're going to start back the other end. Good job on that first. Now let's give everybody a round of applause. It's not easy to talk to you. I think you know we're all here because they're here. So our next question is, we'll start at the other end with Mr. Carmichael. What do you see your role as if you were to be a town councilor?
I think it's important to recognize, it's a good question because it's important to recognize what your role is when you are elected to the town council, the school board, any number of committees there. I see the role as to provide direction and guidance to the town manager to help formulate policies, exercise the powers of the government through our participation in the council meetings. We're the liaison between the town and the general public. And that's an important thing that I think anybody on the council or anybody in public office has to remember, that we're that liaison between the public, and we need to be good listeners with our constituents, with the residents, and actually hear what they have to say and take that into account as we're developing policy going forward. We need to be concerned not only with the conduct of daily affairs of government, but also the future development of the town. And we recognize that when you're in that role, there are going to be conflicts, and we all have different ideas. We all come at issues with a different perspective and a different bias. But I see our role on the council is to sift through those, and just as our legislative leaders do, our congressional leaders in Washington, they have to make the best decisions based on all of that information. And so it's a challenging position, but it's something I certainly look forward to doing if I'm elected. And as I mentioned, helping create a vision for the town. In doing that, we need to consider the welfare of the community, the interests of the community as a whole, and bring to the council's attention anything that would promote the welfare interests in the town. And as I mentioned before, I was on the school board years ago and understand the role of boards and councils and how they work.
I believe our role on the council is your voice. We're your voice. We're your elected official, and we have to make decisions that not only affect us, but the citizens of Bucksport. Sometimes it's one of the hardest, I believe, being a counselor is one of the hardest positions I've ever held. For a lot of different reasons is we have roughly 4,500 to 5,000 residents in Bucksport. Here we have 75 residents. Ideally, I would love this hall to be packed. People walk, not being able to get in. They're outside. It's hard for us to voice your concerns and your thoughts without hearing them, without getting them. It makes our job hard. We have to make decisions that affect everyone in the town. But if we don't know, what they want or what they're thinking, it's hard for us to make that decision. I think one of our biggest things that we have to be is listeners. We have to rely on our department heads that work for the town manager, rely on the town manager in their information to make a educated decision when it comes to a vote. But we need everyone's input, and this job isn't easy, but we want to do it. But we need more participation.
I think what I see as my role on the town council, if I were to be re-elected and get back on, is to, at this point, be fiscally conservative with the town's money, try to retain the town's services at the same time. The council's had a really difficult time the last couple of years. We've been through 2 managers, and doing that, just getting to know one manager and then getting into another one, and now we're into a third, is a very difficult thing for the council to do, and it's a very difficult thing for the public. I'd like to get on the council on that role to try to work to say the things that need to be said before it's too late, and let things get too far out of hand. Sometimes I think people don't want to speak up, and I've also watched lately council meetings where there's quite an audience out there, and people all speak to one issue pretty much in one direction, and the council go the other. That needs to be explained, and I hope to be able to do that if that situation arises. So basically, it's just to be a forthcoming, honest person that people can trust, and to do what's the best for the town that they can do. Thank you.
I think that there are 2 Bucksports, in-town Bucksport and out-of-town Bucksport. I think that needs to be ceased. We need to do something about that. As a counselor, when I first gave some thought to going on council, I talked to a lot of people, and I ranted and raved about the way things being done, and it was echoed right back at me. And sometimes to the point where I was hoping I could get away, because people are not happy with the government that we have in this town right now, and they want to see some changes. And I want to see if, by getting on council, it's possible to make those changes. I read today a list of the ordinances that govern town council, and there's a lot of things that can't be done unless those ordinances are changed to some degree. And there are a lot of ordinances outside of that that have to be changed also. And I would like to get on the council so that I can maybe make some sense of what they have for ordinances. Maybe get it to a point where people feel a little more comfortable with going to the polls and voting for somebody to get on the council. I don't see very many people very happy about going to go vote because they don't feel like they have any power in their vote. I'd like to see that change.
As previously stated, my focus would be on town economics and revitalization. I see the role of the town councilor to solicit residents' comments for the creation of put together a strategy and a plan, while supporting the town council's effort toward the development of public policy and strategies that result in the balanced and sustainable economic growth, increasing job opportunities, and improving and/or diversifying the tax base for the town of Bucksport. I see my value to the town would be to identify and meet needs based on residents' comments, craft ways to achieve higher sustainable revenue generation, reduce maintenance, repair, and operations costs, accurately forecast, but I mean get control of the timing and the budget, increase efficiency and effectiveness, try and stabilize operations a little more, sustain growth, revitalize housing, and preserve our historic heritage.
I see my role as a town, being a part of the town council as being that go-between person, the person between, that helps get the ideas of the people back to the town and vice versa. And we need to get input from the people, and we need to find a way to engage the younger generation into the efforts that's going into Bucksport, because they are the future of Bucksport. I also think that we need to look at job descriptions, current policies, and really find a way to make cuts or find efficiencies so that it makes it easier for the people who work for this town, the people who live in this town, so that we all reap a benefit in the end.
Looking out at the audience here, I see there's some counselors presently serving on the council who are saying, gee, I'm glad I'm not running this year. Of course, it's the involvement of the residents. And I've already mentioned the collection of ideas, and we've had plenty of involvement with the residents. It's time to start implementing and going forward with some of the ideas that the residents have given us. Because there's some very good ideas out there. They are the people that profit from being able to see those ideas made part of our town government. And I intend to do that. And I'm semi-retired, so I get to, I spend a lot of time walking on our $1 million waterfront. And I don't think, and Main Street, I don't think that I've ever had a constituent ask me to look into something that they haven't gotten a phone call from later that week. Either an answer or that whatever it was. We don't think we have an answer to that, and why don't you come to the council meeting? All of these council meetings are open to the public, second and last Thursday of every month. And I know some of you realize that because we see a lot of new faces turning up there. So come out. But the committee meetings are where a lot of the work is done, because we can discuss things in more detail. We don't have, sometimes we get bogged down on small problems, and we don't have a lot of time to discuss everything openly. So it's really important, I think, for some of the concerned citizens to come to some of these council meetings, these committee meetings, which are always advertised through the agendas posted. I reminded Joel Wardwell, when he left the council, he said, David, he says, sometimes you'll have 20 or 30 people in the council chambers, and they'll be going on pretty good about something and talking about how we want this and that. Joel says in his experience that sometimes there are 4,900 other residents of Bucksport that want something very different. So it's good to listen to everybody to solicit those comments.
Bucksport's future will depend in large part on the willingness of its council members to be creative and proactive in seeking businesses to locate here and families to move here. We need to temper our inherent caution with boldness in order to ensure our prosperity. We need to seek the advice of those with expertise in marketing and growing communities, and be willing to make hard choices both in terms of cost cutting and spending. We cannot simply cut back. We must learn the best ways to spend wisely in order to prosper. The council owes a duty to the citizens and businesses of Bucksport to seek the most efficient ways to alleviate the tax burden and strive to create the kind of community where those of us who work and live here want to stay here. We need to concentrate on making sure that we market the town in such a way that businesses already here are able to grow and prosper, and new businesses are enticed into wanting to locate here. We will have little control over what will happen at the mill site once AIM has removed the salvageable material. But we should establish a good working relationship with the company to try to ensure that any future plans will be beneficial to our community.
And we go to our third question. I would like to just remind the candidates here that this next question is a little more involved. Sure, I respect the 2-minute time limit. So the question is, what ideas do you have for coping with the loss of the mill valuation, and do you believe that the town should cut back on services or ask taxpayers to pay more?
I think the most important idea being proposed to Bucksport is the broadband project. A 2014 article entitled Findings on the Economic Benefits of Broadband Expansion to Rural and Remote Areas, which was sponsored by the Center for Urban and Regional Affairs at the University of Minnesota, states that internet access is vital to a progressive society. The article states, and I quote, "Research indicates that small communities and surrounding rural areas with high-quality broadband access reap both short and long-term economic benefits. Short-term benefits are characterized by modest increases in business and job growth. Business growth is realized through practical applications such as e-commerce and cost reductions. Some long-term benefits include growth in population, per capita income, and even GDP. Broadband access does not just help businesses, but also communities and its citizens with respect to education, vocational training, and telehealth, and that by developing broadband, communities can keep pace with the global economy and prepare citizens for participation and competition in the modern world." Close quote. I think spending cuts are essential. I don't think we should increase the burden of taxpayers beyond what has already been done. And I think judicious research is necessary in order to find ways to cut costs.
Even after our using $2 million of the rainy day funds, we've already asked the taxpayers for a little more. We raised the mill rate from a little over 14 to a little over 17, which means the current tax increase for the owner of a house valued at $100,000, about $280 a year more, or $23.30 a month more. $280 a year, I would say. And we can't continue to do that, and I know that's a stretch for some people on a fixed income. The rainy day fund will not go on forever. Some of it must be held in reserve. So some services can be combined with others. Attrition will permit some lowering of costs. The newly formed ad hoc committee and economic development group will be making spend smarter suggestions to the full council to at least hold taxes at the current rate, preferably less. I don't know if you really have a full realization of the fact that we're not as bad off as some people may think. The department has returned $247,000 back to the town. Good for them. Good for them for seeing the necessity of doing something like that. The school returned $169,000 for use in the budget next year. And most importantly, the council and other people were able to convince the legislature to put the sudden and severe portion of the law into effect in 1 year rather than 3 years. Lincoln and Millinocket do not have that sudden and severe addition. The RSU will receive in the fiscal year $2 million actually toward next year's budget. That is not an insignificant sum of money unless the legislature and the governor's working for it. So we're in a little bit better shape than some things. We still have to do all the things that are being suggested, but we're not at death's door right now financially. And a concerned council can certainly, because we're going to have to make some of those cuts. It's easy to cut, but every cut has unintended consequences. And the broadband, I should say, we have to be careful that the technology can be replaced without spending a lot more money as technology increases and changes every 2 or 3 months.
I think that we we need to think about bringing in some new business to the town of Bucksport, find a way to get people going, I guess we'd say left at the light instead of right. We need to not necessarily cut services, but we need to take the time right now to look at things holistically, not jump to any rash decisions. Do I think that the burden should be passed on to the taxpayers, or do I think we should be cutting back services? I think we need to be looking at all of this holistically and making very good informed decisions.
Well, the first question I have is, what's our target going to be to, what kind of a financial goal we're trying to achieve? I suggest we begin with the planning process, size things up, set an objective, identify the issues, place a strategy, tactics, what are we going to do, who's going to do it, when's it going to be done by, and then finally take action. I'm in favor of, number one, share services or regionalization. Some examples. Item A, expand the police coverage for a fee to surrounding towns with Bucksport as the hub. Their benefit would be timely town protection, well-trained command staff and detective services. Item B, vendor convergence, multi-town purchasing with Bucksport as the hub for a fee. Upcharge of 5 to 7%, include the school system, multiple towns, the healthcare center to maximize purchasing power and simplify purchasing. Regionalize resources with Bucksport as a hub to create efficiency and save money in the future. Every town needs an administrator, and not every town can afford to have a full-time administrator, so maybe a full-time position for multiple towns makes sense. Some towns have been aggressive in trying to achieve this. In every case, the service has been better and the cost has been down. Another idea is potentially regionalizing the health insurance as to whether joining a larger group would benefit the health insurance rate. Another item, shut down dispatch. There are discussions all over town about to join the Hancock County Regional for fire and police dispatch. At my home, when I dial 911, request for service, already go through to Hancock County, then get transferred to Bucksport. This is currently $179,000 plus benefits on top of that budget item that bears looking at. However, it may be premature to discuss until a planning analysis is established. The big question is it technically feasible? And what are the associated hardware, software costs for system-wide conversion? By that I mean new repeater, new towers, new portables for police, fire, and so forth. License plate renewal, registration, tax payment. The other day I was standing in the municipal building. I stood in the lobby. And this young man came in from Moreland. He entered to pay his tax and renew his plates. Of course, he was courteously referred back to his own town to do so, but I thought...
Mr. Roebuck did ask you to wrap up if you could.
Okay. There's an opportunity. And then finally, fiscal prudence is the last thing. I'll skip the rest here, but going forward, I suggest town lease capital equipment, provide more cash flow and reserves. And by that I mean go after new police cars, highway department, fire apparatus, buildings, cell phones, copy machines, capital equipment, even collaborate with towns. The point is to deal with strictly municipal leasing companies that maximize discounts and tax leasing options. So, sorry, thank you.
Won't be overrun. You use up some of my time because I'm not going to say much. Losing mill as a mill is one thing. There's still that piece of property that I've heard everybody refer to as very valuable, great asset for the town. I would think that there should be some kind of income coming from that fact, from the people that now own it. We all seem to think that we're going to be in there deciding what's going to go there. We're not going to decide what they do. They are, regardless of our feelings and how we think that it should be done. There are a lot of ideas on what should go in there. So, it's only ideas. And until they make their decisions, we don't make any decisions. And then part of the question is, what do I think of the way that the town spends their money. I don't like it. And I don't think I know anybody that does like it. I don't know many of you people here, but I'm sure that people that I do know here, they can tell me, yeah, you're right, I don't like it. The spending is out of hand. This council is allowed to spend $250,000 without the consent of the voters. I think that's a bit much for a town of 4,500 people. I think we should all be in there making the decisions just like they are.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to a large amount of money like that. To me, $250,000, even with owning a roofing business and being a farmer, $25,000 is probably 5 years of my income. And 4 years of that is going to have to go right back into my business to keep going. So I don't see that they should be allowed to spend what it takes me 5 years to scrape together. And I think that services that we get shouldn't be cut. I think that the people who sit in their chairs and dole out responsibilities to people, I think they're the ones that need to be looking at their jobs.
You did use all your time. I started before talking about the mill property and how important it is. That's just one aspect of what can be done to, and you can work with AIM. I work with them. I take care of the oil recovery barge down there for the state of Maine. They're pretty reasonable people. So that's one thing we got to do is have a good working relationship with them, because yes, they do make the decisions. The other aspect of Bucksport that really needs to be done, we've already started it. We purchased the marina. The marina is a gold mine. I mean, it's just waiting. If you look at other areas on the coast all the way up to Bucksport, including Belfast, what's happened? Front Street moves into Belfast and everything takes off. All the stores fill back up. I mean, it's just that our marina is a gold mine. And why it never took off before was it was privately owned, and the expense to expand it or do anything down there was huge, and it was a huge gamble for a private owner, especially with the mill. And yes, the mill was not an asset in that way. A lot of people don't want to go to recreational boating, especially to a community that has a mill. You know, a mill's a great thing. A mill town's a great thing for working, but they don't want a vacation there. And I saw that with some of the yachts that came up in the town. They didn't realize there was a mill there, and all of a sudden they did, and off they went. Well, I could try to tell them, our mill doesn't smell, honest. You know, it's great, and it's not that noisy. But our opportunities now are growing because the mill is gone. We could have been like Millinocket and tried to keep it going, but it's better this way. It really is. So we got to look at that asset and work on it. Is that my 30 seconds left?
That's good.
Oh, I'll have to finish this at a future.
I hate saying this, but I actually agree with Mike. I think well, he's right. Our marina is a gold mine. You know, the waterfront that we have here, the views, it needs to expand. We need to get larger. We have properties on Main Street that are vacant. You know, we need to work with the property owners and get small businesses in there. We had two buildings recently this year tore down. You know, the White's Exxon property. That's a prime location for a new business. And Mike's old shop was torn down. That's a perfect location. You know, a restaurant or something. You know, to bring people into town. They want to come in here. We need to make people want to come here. The mill property, we need to work with AIM. We need to get over our bitterness that the mill's not there anymore and forget about it and let's move forward and try to work with AIM and you know, once the buildings are down and let's start redeveloping. Help them. Let's get people in there. I don't know, we could be a Freeport with shops and
you never know. The sky's the limit, to be honest. But we just have to be open-minded. In reference to services, I believe we need to stay moving forward. Our kids and their kids, they deserve what we had. I believe that we just need to be smart on how we spend. If you look at mill rates, ours is 17.10. I took a look today. East Millinocket, they lost their mill, $26. Millinocket, $29. We're at 17. We're okay. You know, you go 15 miles up the road, 23, 22. We're doing okay. We just have to be smarter on our spending.
I would say ditto to a number of comments that have been made. I guess that's when you go last. Some of the things are repeated, but you know, I think it's important, and it sort of goes to a little bit of what Paul was just mentioning. Is we have a moral obligation if we're elected at this position to look after everybody, and so that means to me we have a moral obligation to help our seniors and those on fixed incomes through the way we manage and govern the town. But we also have an obligation to the future generations that are coming up through. So as Paul said, they have the same opportunities that we had when we were growing up, and that we attract people to come to this community. We have to create a community that people want to move to. You know, people that are buying houses in Bangor, and Brewer, and Hamden. You just mentioned some of the mill rates in those places, and we can be a place where people want to come if we have the right vision, as I mentioned before. We need to focus our efforts that are going to drive businesses and residents to town. High-speed broadband was mentioned. It's a critical thing. You can work anywhere in the world now with the internet. More and more people are working out of their homes or out of their offices, away from the main business that they work for. So we could attract, with that beautiful waterfront, we could attract many, many people to do business with the right infrastructure and the right resources down there. But we have to make it attractive and easy to do business. And I'm really concerned and focused on how easy it is for people to come in and start a business. What are our codes and regulations like? Are we looking at the glass half full or half empty? Do we have an optimistic view when people want to do business? And we do need to scrutinize our budget to make sure we're getting the biggest bang for the buck. Do we need the same level of services? I don't know. I go into this election, and if elected, go into the role not knowing everything, but having an open mind that we need to be prudent, but we need to be aggressive in seeking ways to attract businesses to our town.
All right, Robbie, you can keep that again. Our next question, some good answers there, some very interesting ideas about how the town should move forward. Our next question, how much further should the town go in sharing services and costs with other communities?
I'm going to be very short with this one. I think as I said, we need to keep an open mind and explore every opportunity to share costs with other towns if it makes sense. And if it provides an adequate level of service that's at least as efficient and effective as the services that we've had. We shouldn't just keep a blind eye to take a blind eye to everything that is offered or any suggestion is made. We should look at everything, do our due diligence, and find out whether or not it does make sense for us. Do our services pay for themselves? You know, those are the questions I'm sure the folks that have been working with the budget year in and year out can tell us. You know, do our EMT and our fire service, do they pay for themselves? Can we leverage those services to help other towns and produce revenue for the town? But the most important point is to keep an open eye and not be biased one way or another about whether or not we should share services with other communities. If it affects jobs, it's certainly a concern, but there are ways to deal with that if it's something that makes sense for the town. If it makes sense financially and from the service perspective, then we should certainly look at it and find a way to deal with the second, third order effects of those decisions.
I think this question actually, or this thought process is actually a slippery slope. With shared services is more cost. In saying that, earlier it was brought up, shared law enforcement. So we'll just taking on Verona as now part of Bucksport for the police department. With that comes more staffing. You add more square miles. So you have to look at, is it cost efficient? Because you add a larger, I'll use patrol area, then you still need to make it safe for the officers that work for the police department. Just adding a bigger area so we can maybe get $30,000, but putting their lives in danger, I don't believe it's worth it. Regional dispatch, if that's a savings, I am a law enforcement officer, have been for 20 years. I have a regional dispatch. If it saves money, a large sum of money, then yeah, it's worth looking into. Shared services are worth looking into, but you have to weigh out, do I need more manpower to share with Orland for me to plow their roads? Is it worth, how much are we going to save? So it's really something that you have to look at. And is the cost worth, is the savings worth, the wear and tear on your employees? Because they matter, and a lot of people forget about that.
As Paul was just mentioning, sometimes shared services work, sometimes they don't. Usually they work for the community, that's the little community. Unfortunately, we're the big dog in the neighborhood, and we're not so big, so it is difficult. Bucksport would be the supplier and not the buyer of that service, except for one thing, and that's regional dispatch. I have a lot of experience with that happening. I was a sergeant on the police department up in Hamden for quite a number of years. We went to regional dispatch at that time, and everybody was against it. Nobody wanted to do it, except it did save us a ton of money. And regional dispatch hired everybody that wanted to be hired that were dispatchers in Hamden. So nobody really lost their jobs and didn't want to lose their job or wanted to move on to something else. And I was against it, and it worked like a charm. I even ended up on the board to run the system and representing the town of Hamden. And I was amazed at how well it worked. So the town saved a lot of money. And as far as Bucksport's concerned, we have two places that are interested in looking at us, and I think we should look into it. Penobscot's interested, and Hancock County's interested. So I think it's a place we might be able to save some money. But as far as cutting services, when you cut something, you eliminate it. We don't want to do that, but we want to finance the services better, is what we want to do. That means not rehiring a guy when he retires, or for a time being, because we actually don't need that number of people. Then we should look into that. It's certainly something that needs to be done.
Have we been asked to extend our services to the neighboring towns? Does anybody know that? I'm not aware that we have been asked that. But my opinion of it is, if you want me to help you build your barn, give me a call. I'll come over and help you build it. But I'm not just going to go over there and start building your barn for you.
Don't start my time yet. As previously stated, I'm in favor of shared services and/or regionalization, providing we follow a planning process framework, driving a business plan for each assigned service, provide a direct link to facilitate interested parties and intertown resources. Why will we do this? Well, there's two things that immediately jump to mind. Number one, to realize greater results, and number two, to increase town revenues. And the value to the town would be to make a difference to the bottom line, because we identify and meet needs, we would have higher sustainable revenue generation, we would reduce our own maintenance, repair, and operations costs, and we can accurately forecast By that I mean timing and budget. And by the way, it's October. We should already get started on the budgeting process. Key to following this process is a risk-reward analysis. And risks, I mean, take a look at the financial risk, whether in fact we have the scope and the resources to pull it off, and the technical risk. And then on the reward side, future revenues fit with strategic goals, mutual fit or benefit to the community or to the organization and our town. In answer to the question, what are the shared services regionalization differentiators? Well, it's comprehensive, all the services, all the equipment. It's forward-thinking to enhance productivity and asset management. It's accountable to simplify execution, reduce risk, deliver through a single source. It's grounded in experience with talented town of Bucksport people. And finally, we would be committed with management, managers involved, and fully accessible and dedicated to their project success. Simply stated, I believe the plan will provide structure, methodology, continuity, accountability, awareness, and most of all, simplicity.
I'm just going to put it just in very simple terms, I think we should be engaged in shared services, absolutely, but at what cost? We don't want to be having people lose jobs because we're doing shared services, but we really need to look at it holistically to find out what are the benefits of it. Is it going to be to the benefit of us or not? So we just really need to look at this holistically.
Well, I'm happy to tell you that we have memorandums of agreement with several ordering towns for several services, including Mayoral dispatch services, fire services, ambulance and recreation services, animal control, solid waste disposal services, and sewer services. And you should know also that we bill them for their share of the main services. At Verona, we have fire, ambulance, and recreation services, and animal control prospect, and all of those are billed for those services. It's not that we can't do more. We simply seem to be doing some now, and we've been doing it for a long time. But as far as mutual buying, reaching out to other communities for cost-saving measures or political effect, no question we should do it.
I don't know that we should limit our ideas in this respect by either continuing on the present course or going further, because I think we should consider it as a way of thinking and going forward. We find ways to share the cost of road maintenance. Would any of the town's equipment or vehicles be rented to other communities, or would they have equipment they would rent to us? Could we purchase equipment jointly with other communities? How about pooling the resources for advertising or volunteering for public events? Are there cost-cutting ways to purchase other goods and services? Are there staffing needs we can share? There are already organizations in town that encompass issues common to and memberships from surrounding towns, such as the Chamber of Commerce and Bucksport Bay County communities. Are there other organizations in town which could be approached about sharing of assets? Are there instances where our right hand doesn't know what our left hand is doing, and as a result, we are duplicating our efforts?
All right, our next question would be, do you agree with the town's spending priorities? If so, why? And if not, why not?
I do not think we should continue to dip into the town's reserves to meet our operating budget. Because of the suddenness of the mill closure, decisions were made to raise taxes and take money from the reserves, but we cannot continue to do that. Our choice is really quite basic. We need to start living within our means. A concerted effort should be made between the council, the town manager, and the department heads to work together to find ways to cut costs. I think the council has to look into all areas of spending and find out what is important to the majority of those who live and own a business here, and make cost-cutting decisions based on those findings. To use a sports analogy, we are in a whole new ballgame now, and our team members are all rookies. We need to consult our citizens, local businesses, and experts, and most of all, present a positive attitude throughout the community to show that we are willing and able to confront the challenges ahead.
Again, we have to spend smarter. I think every person on this stage believes that. As some have pointed out, we got hit by a financial tidal wave, tsunami if you prefer, the loss of our biggest taxpayer, and no one, I think, has mentioned the federally mandated water treatment plant, $13 million project. portion which the town has to pay for. Some of it we pay for with grants. So those are the two items that really wreck the budget and put us into the hole that we're in. The $12 million budget, 60%, almost, is taken up in the school budget. I've always thought about education is expensive, we should try ignorance. But we have no control as a town council over that portion of almost 60% of our budget. That budget was decided by the regional school union and is voted on by the representatives from towns. And then the population as a whole votes on that school budget. Jim Boothby has been very good about keeping us informed, working with the town to try to keep those costs low. But we don't have any real power over the school budget. So it's why it's important for you to attend school budget meetings and to get there. And you know what? If you took the teachers and administrators out of those budget meetings, you might have 5 people in the room. So it's up to the population to attend these meetings with 60% of your taxes. Jim Boothby's been very good working with us, and it's easy to say cut, cut, cut. It's not hard to cut, but every cut, every reduction in service has intended and unintended consequences, some of which discourage some people from moving to Bucksport or opening a new business. It doesn't mean cuts won't be carefully considered, but we must be wise in our ultimate decisions if we want to make the new Bucksport a reality.
I think that there is areas that the town can look at ways to save money. And I think we need to just look at everything holistically, all of the departments, all of the services we have, and just be open-minded, listen to the people, and just be very creative in how we set these priorities.
In answer to this question, and for the sake of time, I'd like to focus on the subject of economic development. By diverting more of the workload to the main development department, of economic community development, the DECD, the town can place emphasis on industrial and commercial. There's a lot of folks who have already said up here tonight, AIM is not the enemy. Immediately form a joint campaign to promote redevelopment. AIM promotes the site, Bucksport promotes the town. The town has just put skin in the game with crafting the 2015 Bucksport resource guide. But let's go further, jointly advertise in the Wall Street Journal as an example, and solicit U.S. government reps' support. Promote tourism. We have the assets and the potential with our inns, motels, the fort, the observatory, golf, the Alamo, lobster boat trips, restaurants. Reach out to American Cruise Lines, tour bus operators. Build it, they will come. Assets are a cost-effective business approach for our tour operators, also become a one-tank of gasoline destination town. I support moving forward, this is a real hot button that I like a lot. I support moving forward with a comprehensive broadband, telecommunications, digital infrastructure plan as soon as possible for the expansion and completion of the 3-ring communications binder. It's not as scary as it sounds, because a digital infrastructure and culture are needed to compete in the current economy to draw the attention of various process industries and emerging industries and economic opportunities in the town of Bucksport. And there are also a number of important coalitions and foundations that I believe that we should continue economic support. The Bucksport Bay Healthy Communities Coalition programs, an initiative where Bucksport and surrounding towns with their multiple efforts aimed at community health. The Main Development Foundation, Bucksport Next, Foster Downtown Revitalization, if I can just finish this thought. We're listed in the development to go from a current network community to a Main Street Main community, resulting in economic development, business growth, job creation, housing revitalization, and historic preservation.
Cut, cut, cut. You're right, it was easy to say that. I'm all for cutting. I don't see us cutting services. I see us cutting people within the system are very complacent in their spending. They think that they are immune having to worry about how much they spend. The norm is for a low down the totem pole to end up walking around with no job. The guy that sweeps the street is a lot more important to me than the guy that tells him to do it, because I grew up as a blue-collar person, and that's the way I see life. That the important people are the ones that actually are out there doing the jobs. I don't think their jobs should be in jeopardy. I think that the people who are giving them their assignments, I think that their jobs aren't being done as well as they could be, and I think that if we're going to make some cuts, I think that's where we should make our cuts. We have all kinds of opportunity here in this town. I've talked with many people that are business owners, and they have problems with their businesses, and I think we ought to be doing something about it. Because if we want to become a business-friendly community, we have to adjust our ordinances to where businesses are happy to come here.
Do you agree with the town's spending priorities? I've been off the council for a while, and I'm not quite sure what the town's spending priorities are right now. Towns have to spend money to improve things, and we just have to do it carefully. When I was on the council before, I pushed really hard to have Route 46 done over. I thought it was a really dangerous road. And yes, the town spent quite a bit of money along with the main DOT to have that road done. I feel a lot more comfortable about it now. I don't see that school bus stopping to pick up a kid and a dump truck running into the back of it. The natural gas that was put in town, I advocated for that right from the very beginning, and we finally got it done. It's here. Hopefully it will expand, and hopefully it will save people some money. So yes, there are things you gotta spend a little bit of money for to get a return for, but it makes the town more a place that people want to move to and come to, and expand the town's tax base on top. As far as I said cutting services. When you cut something, you eliminate it. Don't want to do that, but we do want to refinance it at a better way to get the cost of the services down. Our community is a small one. We were living as a bigger community because we had a big mill that paid 44% of our tax base. So when we wanted a new truck or a new car, we got it, and it wasn't too much of a burden on people. Now we have to look very carefully at those things. We have to make that car and truck last a little longer. We have to, maybe not fill a position when it's done.
Do I agree with the town's spending priorities? I'd be pretty hypocritical if I said no. I've been part of that for the last year. And I think we had to spend money this year to start the rebuilding process. We've been spoiled rotten for the last 80 years, okay? And that's the problem. We haven't had a need in the world that wasn't answered by the mill. Kids needed to fundraise, they went down to the mill. They only had to fundraise in one place because the mill was there. Needed uniforms, went to the mill. We don't have it anymore. We need to watch how we spend. I agree with that. We really need to watch how we spend to move forward. But we have to spend money also. We all earn it every day. We work hard for it, and it's hard for us to spend money. And believe me, you don't know how hard it is for me to raise my hand to spend your money. It pains me. Every day I do it. But we have to. That's what you vote for us for, is to make those decisions. And we just need to analyze everything that we're spending money on, and is it a necessity now? Can we wait until next year? Is there a different way to finance it? Can we get it cheaper somewhere else? And I think we can do that. And with your vote, I want to be part of that. That's what I'm here for.
I think it's important to remember where we've been from the sense of our budgets over the year. Obviously, the mill has had a positive impact on that, but we have a great reputation. And speaking with other members of councils in other towns, that the job that Bucksport has done over the last 20, 30, 40 years of building surpluses in the prudent management of our finances. We may not all agree about the expenditures, but we have a great reputation in terms of how we've managed our finances over the years outside of the town. I agree with what was mentioned earlier about it's hard to focus on both, but we have to focus on driving revenues in through new taxpayers, new businesses, to help alleviate the problems in the revenue shortfall, while at the same time looking at the way we spend money on a year-to-year basis. And I don't think it's fair for me to try to answer the question about which way do I feel we've been spending it right or not. Until you sit there on the council, it's more difficult to answer that question than sit looking at it from the outside. The answers are easy looking at it from the outside. I've been, as I mentioned, on the school board. Look very easy to cut the budget until you get there. And you realize that it's not as easy. Everybody there's a constituency for every issue. So there are a lot of things to consider. But we do need to look at those things. Are the positions that are retiring, do they need to be filled? Are there more creative ways to do some of the things and purchase some of the vehicles and others that we've talked about already tonight? It's going to be a challenge going forward. One of the things that I think we need to think about is looking at positions that drive revenue. We talk about an economic, an economic development person and a finance person that's been in the news. Maybe we need a full-time grant writer. Those positions pay for themselves. I'm just concerned about, can we get, for what we're willing to pay those other two positions, can we get the quality and the level of talent that we need to pay back what that position is supposed to be doing? A full-time grant writer would certainly do that.
All right, Robbie, I'll have you keep the microphone. We have one more question that was not provided to you in advance. It comes from the Bucksport Bay Area Chamber of Commerce. So I'll give you the question, give you a second to think about it. And Robbie, we'll start with you. Do you support limiting the number of consecutive years that a council person may serve as mayor or chairperson? And I don't think that the chamber has any axe to grind with Mayor Keene. I think he does a fantastic job. So I think this is just strictly a question for a matter of opinion of what you think. So Robbie, we'll start with you.
No, I don't support term limits for the mayor or the chairperson. I think it's up to the council, each council, to vote that position, and the council's going to change. So, if that person's not doing what they want, then they'll certainly make a change.
I don't support term limits either. Every year there's new councilors that come in. The mayor or the chairperson could change year to year. All depends on the vote of the council. So he's their voice. So I think if they feel strongly about it, then it should be that way.
I differ with that a little bit. I think sometimes change is good. I don't support a term limit and you can't do it again, but I support maybe a 2-year limit, and then you have to step down for a year and somebody else takes it, and you can run again for the next time around. If you're truly that good, you'll get back in. So I do support that situation. I think some people get so involved because let's face it, everybody that's on the council is there because generally they love the town of Bucksport and they only want to do the best for it. Every one of them. Whether I agree with them or not, that's what they're doing. And some people just, maybe go too far with that once in a while. And so stepping down a little bit and stepping back is, I think, a good thing.
I don't support a term limit for the position. I think that anybody who wants to go through what I'm going through right now more than once is, good for them. I don't see any reason that we as a council should do anything different than just vote on who we think ought to be the chair of the council. Thank you.
I tend to agree that I don't support any limits going forward. I think when this has been quite an adventure since early or late winter, following all the meetings and so forth. Going through this process right here with all of us up on the stage has been an eye-opening experience, to say the least. And I think when you get your motor running and you get all the gears and so forth going forward, to get some of these big rocks moving, that's actually imperative for the importance of committees to be doing their work and understand the council workings and the fiscal budgeting and the planning process, and to have that history behind you, with you, as you're going forward, makes quite a difference.
And I don't support term limits either. I think that, as town council evolves over the years of people being voted in from, year to year to year, that, it's up to us as the councilors to support my mayor.
The position of mayor is pretty much ceremonial by our charter. I see anybody that holds the chair of mayor as being 1/7 of the vote that goes on. So I don't see, I think the council is as good a position as any to make that decision, and when they make that, if somebody else wants to step forward and present themselves as a candidate for mayor, then the council can decide if they think that person should be. But it's mostly ceremonial.
I also don't support term limits for the head of town council. I think that it should be up to the members of the council, and they're all voted in by the citizens, so.
We'll now invite all the candidates to come on one by one up to the podium one more time to give their closing statements. We'll start with Ms. Schaffner. You can start. Come on.
Our son decided at the age of 6 that he wanted to go to Harvard. 12 years later, when he was accepted, we greeted the news with tremendous pride, but also panic and fear about how we would pay his tuition. We decided that hard choices and sacrifices were absolutely necessary in order to ensure our son's future. After making some lifestyle changes, we learned that the sky didn't fall in, and we were able to live quite comfortably with less spending money. The same is true of the town's future. We do not want to live in a town that folds its tents the first sign of adversity. We have enjoyed generations of prosperity, and we should be thankful for that. But if we need to ask our citizens to make sacrifices for the future of our children, then we must be bold in doing so. No halfway measures will work. We must make creative cuts without sacrificing our way of life. At the same time, make a conscious choice to spend where we need to in order to move forward. Either looking in the rearview mirror and wishing we could go back to the way things were or standing still is the answer. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for this opportunity to present my candidacy for the Town Council.
Thanks for your patience. I want to talk just not to the people in the audience today, but all the people out there watching on television. I want to announce first that you'll be delighted to learn that the J. Stewart building, which some of you may remember as the Pop Hill store, is under contract. I think some of that is because of the enthusiasm that the prospective purchaser saw this summer in Bucksport. She decided to go forward, and they'll be able to say that. It's going to be an art studio, teaching, selling, what have you. I believe it's just the type of thing that we need here. I know this is about a council election, but I want to return to something that I've talked about before. Is I hear what you want your council to do. Let me tell you, and I think the other council might agree, what I want you to do. I want you to be able to look in the mirror and say, what am I doing to help my town? Let me tell you what three people with varying backgrounds and varying time in town have done. One, born and raised in Bucksport, who went into the town office and said, what can I do? And they were told, well, can you type? And said, yeah, well, this person has typed up the minutes for various meetings, which is essential, and is typing up the committee minutes now. A person, a 30-year resident in town, came up to me and said, I would like to volunteer my time for 4 months at no pay to help the economic development director do what he needs to do. I mean, I was delighted and absolutely dumbfounded. 30 new residents running for the town council. Now, we're not going to go back. You can look back, but that's not the direction we're going. Go into the town office, ask what you can do. Go to the Chamber of Commerce and ask what you can do. So that when you're displeased with what's going on in the town, you can say, I'm part of the solution. I'm not part of the problem. Your council will do what they're elected to do. What can you do? And get out and do it. Thank you.
Like I said previously, I've only been a resident of this town for about 18 months, and it's gone through a lot of change. And I think now is the opportunity that not only myself, but we as the people of Bucksport should be coming together to work together for a good end result. I think that I can be open-minded, and I'm not afraid to say that I would agree or disagree with, maybe some of the the other council members that currently are there. But I am not afraid to bring the ideas to the table and to, really stand fast behind what I might feel about whatever the situation is on the table. I think that we need to find a way to get new business into town. It'd be great to have like an anchor store here in town where that store may meet a diverse bunch of people, whether it be fishermen or hunters or just arts. I mean, we just need to find a way to get some new growth, new stores here in town. We need to be able to get the people to come out and speak to us so that we can hear what you have to say. We got to find a way to get the younger generation involved because they are the future of Bucksport.
Whether it be called fiscal prudence, shared services, regionalization, revitalization, emerging opportunities, they all represent new processes, new technologies, and initiatives. In the end, there's still a culture shift to deal with. In the private sector I worked in, the subject of culture shift came up numerous times. And just to repeat my recent letter to the editor, when change hits, a common response is caution. Faced with the unfamiliar, surrounded by uncertainty, the organization, or in this case the town, gears down. On the surface it makes sense. You really can't do much to reduce the speed of change. But if the town slows down, you somehow feel a little safer. So people put on the brakes, hoping to buy some time. But change won't wait for us. We simply don't have time to take our time. Carefulness actually gets dangerous when it creates a culture of caution. Paralysis sets in. The old adage, analysis into paralysis. The town loses its momentum. The problems start to multiply. Under today's conditions, slowing down is the most hazardous move the town of Bucksport could make. So let's speed up. Let's do everything possible to accelerate. Don't resist change, because that's going to be a drag on the town. Going forward, if I had to pick two things from my presentation tonight that I would really focus on, that will really make a difference, my two choices are shared services and regionalization, and item number 2, completion of the last link and the comprehensive communications backbone. I'm very excited about the potential that exists here in the town of Bucksport. I firmly believe we can and will become the model that other towns will look to. Our phones will ring off the hook asking how we got that done. In closing, thank you for the opportunity to present a few of my ideas this evening. I welcome the opportunity to have further discussions and to listen to your ideas. Now, I know I'm running out of time, but I want to just back on to what Mr. David Key. And that has to do, I want to put one last plug in for the Citizens Ad Hoc Group. There are so many great ideas floating out there in the town from people that have retired, moved to other areas, still with strong family ties, or still receiving their Bucksport Enterprise mailed to their homes. The ad hoc group needs everybody's input on this important challenge. So please, send us your ideas. And as you're leaving tonight, please, there are hundreds, literally hundreds of copies of this new Bucksport resource guide out in the lobby. Take one home, read it through it. It's a great document. So outside of that, thank you very much. And on November 3rd, please consider me and cast your ballot for me. Thank you very much.
My grandfather bought his groceries at the A&P. I believe it was right here in this building. It moved down to where Ivan Braun had his shop down there. When he needed a new washing machine, he bought it at Ivan Braun's. When he needed anything else, he came into the hardware store and bought it here in Bucksport. And he always bought his fifth of vodka right at the green truck. I buy my groceries in Bangor because I can afford to buy them there. And it's almost as close for me to go there. I bought my washing machine up in Bangor because that's where shopping was. I had other things I needed to get. There's nothing available there. 90% of the people that live in this town do their shopping elsewhere. If they're not in Bangor, they're in Ellsworth. That's a shame. We have some nice little shops. We don't have a lot of the things that are necessities in life here, but we have some nice little shops. I took an opportunity to walk the street, see what there was and what I could purchase. I bought some books at the bookstore. I went in and had a nice conversation with a lady at the pharmacy. And my wife bought some little trinkets to send to her sister that lives out of state. We don't have that. People aren't, I don't see many people that I've talked to that actually do their shopping here. We need to change that. We need to get that done. One of the things that bothers me most is that I talked with a couple of different business owners, people who owned businesses in this town, who now are relocated to other towns. And the reason was that they feel they were driven out by people who aren't as business friendly as the town should be. These are the people that are in our administration, and I think we need to do something about those. Thank you.
He's the hard act to follow. When I was elected on the council 11 years ago, I really didn't know what I was getting into. I thought I had an idea about finances. I thought I had an idea about directions and how things worked. But it took me, I gotta be honest, probably about 3 years, the first term, to really start to understand the town's finances, how it was run, and what our goals were. And of course, back then, we had a mill, and the mill wasn't going anywhere. We were pretty assured of that by everybody that was in the mill. So, and only the reality came later on when, just recently, when finally it was there, now it's gone. When I was on the council, I was very quiet for the first 3 years. I made some mistakes. I didn't back some things up that I should have, and I was too quiet. My last 3 years in the council, I probably wasn't so quiet.
and I'm ready to hit the ground running. I understand how the town works. I understand how the finances work, and I am certainly going to back my ideas and the ideas of some people in the community. So I'm looking forward to getting back on if I can, so I'm looking for your vote, and I will thank you.
But this is the last time. Those lights are bright. They're warm. I'm not a politician. I work every day, put my boots on, strap my gun belt on, and go to work. That's what I do. But a year and a half ago, I decided to run for the council. Sort of talked into it. Didn't, like Mike said, didn't know what I was getting into. Extremely enjoyed it. I'm starting to learn it, and really want to be part of. People have called it new Bucksport, or I don't think it's a new Bucksport. It's Bucksport. We're not changing just because a mill left. You know, we're the same people. We're the same same downtown. The same employees work here. The same kids. Actually, now our kids and their kids go to school here. A couple new buildings, but that's what we are. I moved back to Bucksport because this is where I wanted to raise my family. I want my family to raise their family here. Just like the generations that are in the room and up here. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, we just have to move on. We're going to be okay. I appreciate the Chamber, the Alamo, for letting us come up here and make fools of ourselves. And come out and vote on the 3rd, and hopefully you let me. Thank you.
I realize sitting down, every time I get up, I feel like my hips are going to be falling apart. I want to thank Brian. Great job. This is probably a little easier than the presidential debates that those people had to deal with. But you did a great job tonight keeping us on track. And thanks again to the Chamber for sponsoring this. It's an important time for our community. It's great to see so many people step in and run for the town council. As many people might suggest that we're a little crazy for jumping in at this time, but I think it's a perfect time to be part of a renewal in this community, and I look forward to helping Bucksport move forward. I think what I can bring is a perspective. I can't tell you that I have all the ideas, but I can tell you that I can bring a perspective from, as I mentioned, I put myself through college digging worms for 7 years, bloodworms, sandworms. I worked in state government, I worked in the military, I worked in private sector and banking and shipbuilding. So I bring a perspective at least to the position that I hope can add to the strength of ideas and the working knowledge of the council as a whole. I'm willing to listen, ask tough questions, set high standards, and be creative as one of the councils of this great town. I go through towns, I'm in Bangor all the time. What Bangor has done has been fantastic. The waterfront, the activities, the restaurants. You go through Hollowell in the summer, there are bands and people out on the street and on the waterfront. We can do that same thing here in Bucksport with the right drive and the right initiative. I've dealt with multi-million-dollar budgets in government and the private sector. I understand that part of it. I've been in the human resource area, so I might sit on the next town manager interviews if we have those, if I were elected. I know how to interview candidates, and I think the one last thing I would mention that's a little underrated as a candidate is how can you work as a part of a team? Because you can't be an obstructionist and get things done in any setting. We've seen that at the national level, at the state level, in some areas, and I think I bring a lot of years working as part of a team to this position, and I look forward to your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
I've got a big round of applause for everybody. I guess I'll just leave everyone tonight. I grew up in Bucksport. Bucksport. I rode the Gravitron at Family Fun Day. Ate cotton candy till I made me sick. The mill closed, I think it was a year ago on Monday. It happened, and I think these people are here because they're trying to move on with the future of this town. It's not Millinocket, it's not Lincoln, nothing to disparage those communities, but Bucksport has a lot to offer. You know, you've got the water, you've got the fort, you've got the bridge, a lot to bring people in here. They've all given their various opinions as to why they think that, or what they vision, their visions for the future, what they think that should be. Your opinion will be given on November the 3rd. Go vote, they want your vote. They've presented the best case for themselves here tonight, so I think the only way to make a difference is by heading to the polls. And that's how we'll do tonight. Thank you.